It's, like, here's what I do know as a producer. The average ear can only hear three things at the same time. And I've written about 10,000 songs with about 10 billion notes per song. So I know what those songs do, and it's fun. There's a genre for that. But I think a lot of things have happened during musical history of what pop's done, rap's done, country started it probably, of simplistic. There's a beauty in simplistic music. Is very, very hard to write a hit for. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy, and if it was, everyone would just do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 2020'd. I'm Siobhán Cronin, as always, with Cory Peza, Benny Goodman, and back for part two with our dear friend Cory Lowery of Seether. We had a great episode with him in part one. If you haven't listened, go back and check it out. Like and subscribe, 2020-d.com. We're going to talk a lot more. We get really deep in this episode with him. It was really great to hear him open up about a lot of his experiences and stories about touring.
Yeah, no, he definitely bears his soul, and he's a very real person, and you can tell that he genuinely loves what he does, and he doesn't take it for granted, and he also likes to share, not only with the fans of Seether and the other bands, but share with people like us and open up, and it was just really fun to talk to him.
I'm going to be very transparent about this. So we've done like 100+ episodes of this show, and we've talked to a lot of people, and there are some people that are, kind of corporate and, say like there's certain things and they're not that deep and they don't really allow you to get, I guess, as they say, below the water. This guy's like, let me tell you about my soul. Let me tell you about my depression. Let me tell you about my dad. Let me tell you about like how hard things are and how long it's taken for people to even put like a face to the music that he spent years doing. And I salute this dude because, he's literally what a true warrior, a lifer, a guy who's always in amazement of playing Clint Lowery, part two.
No, not
Clint. That's his brother, Ben.
That was very beautiful.
It was a very beautiful build up to the wrong name. Cory Lowery. He does talk about his brother.
This week, part two, Cory Lowery.
Welcome to another episode of 2020. We already introduced the stupid host, so let's jump right back in to our talk with Cory Lowery, Seether, Stereomud, Stuck Mojo. Let's talk about what's going on right now. You guys are on a tour. You and Siobhán, you guys are traveling the world playing music. How's that going?
We're having a blast. I mean, we did like 3 shows before. They were like quickies, though. They were fly-ins for us. Like festival-y. I don't know if they were headline or festival, but we played together a couple times. And I remember one of them I got to see. The band, everyone was gone. Like it's like we all had to leave. Like there were fly dates. We didn't have or any of that stuff. But I was like, that was the first time. And then, but Dustin, I've known Dustin since 2004.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. We actually got to work together a long time ago, and I completely forgot that, and I got busted on it the other day. And I'm like,
wait, tell us about it. I'm curious because I didn't know this.
Even go into it because it's humiliating. Okay, we worked together. What was the band? It was
Downplay, probably.
Downplay.
Yeah.
I got to work with Downplay and absolutely forgot about it. I mean, how humiliating is that?
Well, you do a lot of things. I mean, I get it.
But then when we started doing the tour, I remembered and I talked to him about it. I was like, dude, and I remember everything started coming back, obviously. Yeah. But I was like, and I just remember he was such an incredible talent, great voice. He had all that stuff that it takes to be a lead singer, and it's going to deal with all that lead singer stuff. he was going to keep his mind on his shoulders rather than.
But hold on, you're a great producer. You've worked with a lot of bands, so I have to defend you for a little bit because I'm not even a good producer at all, and I have actually pulled up whole songs that are produced as fuck, like where I spend clearly 45 hours and don't remember at all writing or recording them, and being like, wow, that's pretty cool, that's nice, whatever. And I wrote it myself, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty catchy. Like, oh, how does that go again? And like, so to forget another band, like, it sucks. It's a humiliating thing, but considering the fact that you're a producer, it's what you do. It's like you work at a grocery store. Do you remember every egg?
Right. I mean, he's it's been really cool to reconnect with him and get to know. I mean, so tell him about you showing me how to play violin the other day.
Yeah, so I was in the dressing room practicing because, like, especially on our support tours, I like to take the time to practice when I can because especially headline sets, it's just hard. You don't have the energy.
Is this part of the mental illness?
It's all part of the mental illness. But Cory comes in the room, and one thing I love about you is what makes you probably a great producer is you're so curious and you love sounds and you love understanding, at least from what I can tell, understanding how things work and wanting to know more. You say you write strings, so you want to know how to play these instruments, and that's amazing because a lot of people don't. Some producers are just like, ba-ba-da, like play this, don't understand how the violin works, which is fine. But so he comes into the dressing room the other day and was like, oh, let me try this thing. And I'm like showing him all the different strings, and you picked it up really fast. You killed it.
The right hand with violin, like the feeling I had in my right hand, everything was being just kind of like it was like opening the book of how this whole thing. I'm interested. I want to learn. I want to have a violin and a cello at the house just because I've never held the bow. I've played stand-up bass and I played some horn instruments, stuff like that, but like I've never really sat and said, I am, and I guess I'm inspired from this tour. Y'all are an amazing duet.
Well, can I tell you something that's a true story about Starset? I brought my 16-year-old, I inherited from my fiance. I don't actually have a child myself. People are smarter than that. And she came down and she saw Starset and the thing that she thought the coolest was she's like, I love the strings when they like lock in together. She said it that way. And awesome. it's of all the things, I mean, it's a great show and there's all these things going on, but meanwhile she's like, but the strings. And that's something that Dustin, that we've emulated with Lost Symphony, is the way that he's able to fit heavy music and cool sounding guitars and all this production and still leave all this room, sonic room, because you understand, like, the production of Starset is so incredible. Yeah. So to have the ability to actually have cello and violin, and it's not just girls miming it, it's women Jedis playing it, and you could hear it live on stage, and that's brilliant to me. I think it's crazy.
Like everybody, we're all getting up kind of and jamming with each other. When you all get up and jam with Lacey, Lacey's got almost that voice. It's such a powerful instrument. Her voice is just straight out. It's all like it has this. And what strings do for me, it has so much history for you. I mean, centuries. We've heard strings, right? Things have been written on strings. Voices. Even the other day, I was listening to, and not to get off subject too much, but I went back to the first recording ever, and it was wasn't Graham Bell that did that. 50 years before that, there was another recording. The guy didn't patent it, but it was this haunting thing. And the way they were singing, it's just like, it's incredible. It's beautiful to me. It's like that hauntingness is where I'm happy. So I'm like, I love this, But the strings have that same thing. I mean, it affects them. When you all get up and jam with Lacey, it's like one of the most powerful. I watched it yesterday. I was like,
it was awesome.
Oh my! It's like, it's one of those moments that you need to see within our show. To me, I don't think. When you're on stage, you don't get the full power of everything that's happening sometimes. Right. I see the people's faces and I'm looking at them like, oh yeah, they're totally getting blown away by this one, It's exciting.
That's awesome that you got to, see it, because it's funny that you say that when you're on stage. At least for me, a lot of us too were like, do these people love this or hate it? Because you're so in your head and you're in the moment of playing, and
Absolutely.
It's so hard to read the energy because you're getting such a weird sonic experience from where you're standing. And
it's that part of the set. It's like, it's so interesting where it's like a trance where people are just staring and they're like trying to absorb it all, because they didn't know that they were paying for that. You know what I mean? And that's what you're giving them, is something that they're like, wait a minute, this is in something that's so far off from what they thought. And that's what's the cool part, I think, to those people are. Everything I'm reading about, all my fans are like, did you see that? Because they're so excited for her to go. It goes from that to her playing so heavy with us to doing the thing. I'm so glad that we're all jamming together.
Yeah. No, that's a really cool thing about this tour and I know you guys, Ben and Cory, when you came to the show, we hadn't played with Lacey yet, but now there's overlap in all the sets.
Yeah.
Lacey goes on with Seether, we go on with Lacey, Dustin goes on with Ben, like all this, and that's great. It's been a really cool experience.
Can you guys talk about that? Because that is a relatively unique situation that I've come across from shows I've seen.
Elton John, Billy Joel used to do it.
Right, but
awesome,
obviously,
man.
It happens, but it's not the norm.
It's rare. You know what? You're right.
It's so fucking
very
cool,
rare. It's every now and then a tour like this happens, and where every group there's a connection between every group, and this is by far one of my favorite tours that we've done ever. Every room you walk into, you're like, yes, and it's awesome. Fuck yeah, I love this girl, love that guy. Everyone's cool. The roadies are cool. Like everything is on all cylinders, and we've got to do it again. We've got to do it again.
I agree. No, I agree with you completely. It's been very cool. And it's cool because, a lot of us walking into tours, you look at the bill and you're like, oh, everyone's music is so different. Like, are these fans going to like what we do, especially if we're opening for, people that have a longer history or different style of music or whatever. So I think it's really cool also to just bring in and support each other in that way, like bring everyone together and be like, listen, we're all a family. Like this can all work together, because
absolutely.
Yeah,
well, I think being
unusual.
a fan coming and watching the show, it was just amazing because first off, like you're like, oh, this girl not only can sing, she sings that song. Like, if you don't internalize anything like me and have any clue about anything. And then Starset comes on. It was amazing to watch the people in front of me because they had never heard Starset. And I first off, it was the greatest I've ever seen them. They were so tight that it sounded like I told them, like I literally was so excited that I had seen them do their acoustic thing earlier because Dustin was like 85%. So like I know he's a human being because he hit every fucking note dead on. And then so the guys in front of us are like, I don't know who they are, but like they're really good. I should look them up, but like exactly what you want them to do after seeing a band. And then you guys come on stage, and I'm like, all right, I've heard Seether about it, like, and then immediately I'm like, holy shit, these guys are so fucking awesome, and I know every one of these songs. And my fiance, like, this is the barometer because she's a hot chick, so like she with the band and she like knew every song. She knew more songs than I did, and I'm like, wow. Okay. Oh, that's how you know the band's big, is that like when the chick knows more songs than you do, it's kind of like, oh, maybe they penetrated the psyche of...
They're smarter than we are, that's all. Well,
they're not only are they smarter, but they're the greatest things on the planet, and they're the best fans to have, because like no one wants to go to a Winger show and see a bunch of dudes like going like, great, the bass is awesome, because Winger's a great band. They want to go to see Seether and Starset and Breaking Benjamin and Lacey with a bunch of hot chicks and hot dudes, and everyone's rocking and rolling and holding hands. It's a different experience than seeing those metal shows like this.
Yeah,
all the dudes in the black show.
For us, it's been an awesome tour. I mean, and we've only got a few more left. So,
yeah, it went by fast.
And that's when it's. I'm sure just like you. I mean, when we leave our families and stuff like that, sometimes it feels like it's an eternity. This one time, I'm like, damn. I don't want this to end, kind of. It's going to be a, not cool day when this ends, so we got to do it again. And I think the fans want to, they're having a great time. I think from, like you're saying, all of the bands are different sounding, and there's a little twist on each genre. We're all rock, by the way. But I think that our fans and your fans, I think they're at the end of the day, they just want to hear good songs, man. And a good song doesn't matter. This era, we've been.
But you guys all put on a show. It's not just like a set. You guys have a show, and like that's one thing that Starset, like in particular, that I was impressed by. It's just like not 1 second of lull. It's literally you're just punched in the balls for like a solid the entire time. You guys have a show too. It's a much more open show where like the guitars are getting feedback and your people are walking around and there's banter and it's just like everyone's singing shit. Like it's a show. It's not just going through the motions and then Breaking Benjamin comes on and they sound fucking humongous. It's one of those things where again, every one of you that's on this as a musician watching in, I call myself a musician in quotations. I was like, I felt like I was on a trip. A good trip with Shannon Larkin where it's like, okay, it was sunny for a little bit. There's a little bit of rain, but it was nice rain on my face. Then it got dark for a moment. Like your show has so much dynamics between all of you guys. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's everybody's bringing the A game for sure on this. That's another good thing about touring with bands that when that inspiration happens, you're like, man, we need to you can't not bring it on this tour. Everybody's bringing the A game every single night. And having a blast doing it. The fans have been amazing, and they're the ones that make all this happen anyway. So it
does make it harder for you guys because one of the things I've always noticed about national bands is that because I'm never been a national band. I'm just a guy in a basement with a lot of keyboards. Is that a lot of the times they have like you got to think that they're going, let's get the shittiest opening band with the most money. So with the crappiest sound guy, so that when you guys go on stage, it's like, oh, we sound actually so much better than you even thought because you're just happy that it sounds good. Like
it's never
I feel like that's the opposite. Yeah.
Not
you don't do that?
If your band sucks, I swear to God, I don't want to do it. I know it's won't. I won't.
Oh man, like, that's such a good trick.
You want the best. You want the best, man. I mean, here's the deal. The audience deseres that. Why would you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'd say,
insecurity. Come on, like you said earlier. Insecurity.
That's a shitty manager. You know what? I don't have faith in you guys, so let's get the shitty. No, but like I think it's great. I think it's great when you have, because the idea is to be inspired. You want to have the baddest bands playing with you. You want to surround yourself with the best. Otherwise, you kind of would probably, if people out there just getting through it, that's not fun. And that happens sometimes. Like bands that don't want to do it anymore, but they're just out there just to do it. I mean, I'm not inspired by that. I don't want to be. I don't want to.
Do you ever ask yourself
with that?
What would Dimebag do in this case? Because I feel like that whole, especially since he's was taken from us, I feel like after there's like before there's Dimebag and then after Dimebag, like especially with touring, because like a lot of people like Pantera, the art is off.
I learned a lot from those guys. Pantera gave us everything, all lights. They had an entire PA system of a side fill. Everything. It was the loudest you could possibly be on stage. Gave us everything. He wanted you to bring the best, and we did, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I was like, we walked on stage, and I'm like, let's give everything we got, you know what I mean? And because I did that reaction, like I said, it's about the fans, man. It's about, I'm like that when I go to see a concert. I want every band to just blow me away, man. I'm here. I'm paying the ticket. Kill me. I love it. Just bring it, give me everything you got. I love seeing that pour out from the stage to the fans, and we give it back. That whole thing that makes it harmonious.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's great. I mean, even for me and my experience, it's as someone that grew up in classical music, not rock music. Obviously now I'm immersed in the rock world, but I love being on a tour where I can go and like watch your set and watch Ben's set and learn something about sound design and about playing
Cory
together
and
about yeah, exactly.
Assholes.
And that's the thing. During the tour, I've watched everybody. All bands are watching each other. Mm-hmm. That's so cool to look when you look over and you're like, oh, cool. There's another band person on the side of the stage. It's like it's real. So it's been super fun. I mean, for us, we're starting a getting ready to start a new album cycle. So Sean's been writing for that stuff. It's a good way to kind of end as we go into the next record. During the COVID thing, we had this record, we did 22 songs for this record. And so 13 make the record. Then we put out some EP stuff because we didn't know what the world was going to be or how that worked. But man, Seaweed's Pocket Parabellum, the one we just did, 3 number 1 hits, man. 3 number 1 hits. And that's, you know, people always say, well, Seether's old, and you know, we've been doing this, and that's, well, we're still putting hits out. So I mean, don't count us out as the old band quite yet, you know.
Absolutely.
And you're still hungry. You know, you got to stay that hungry. And I was talking to you guys about playing guitar when I started, and then I played bass for a lot of years, and then now I'm playing guitar. I'm that 13-year-old kid on stage, like, oh my God, I get to play, and like I'm so pumped up, and I love it. For me, like, there's a lot of guitar players. I don't worry about being the best guitar player. I just got to be the best in Seether. Yeah. You know, I don't care to be the best of anything other than be best me, and I'm in Seether, so that's all I care to be. Sean,
well, you have 3 number 1 hits, so it seems like you're doing all right. I mean, Shannon had 4 number 1 hits that he forgot about. So like, I feel like that's how you know you've officially made it. So when you're in a band and you have to actually think back to yourself how many number 1 hits you have, because 3 seems like a lot, but 4, right?
Well,
right? 3 fucking hits.
17
Dude,
if you're counting them all, but you know, who's
that's
counting?
crazy.
Yeah, you miscounted, Ben.
That's like Mariah Carey, dude. What are you, Britney Spears, dude? 17?
But dude, see, here's the deal with Sean. And
that's crazy.
Like, he is such a songwriter. When you talk about a writer.
17. I don't have that many fingers.
He's not even, he's on another plateau. Mm-hmm. He's on another plateau as far as being able to write and develop a piece of music and a melody and lyrics that connect with so many people. I mean, you know, it's incredible. Like he'll send me the demos and stuff, and I can already tell it's a smash, you know, and it's just in this raw form, you know what I mean? And it's for someone that has done it for that many years and can stay relevant and true to themselves. I mean, look, he's Cory, you should write. I'm like, why would I fuck that up? I mean, you know, no, that door is always open, you know, but it's like, man, I love hearing what you're going to write. Sometimes you don't mess with the magic, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I would have never told Dimebag, you know, if you just palm you this way, like, no, you don't. Some people, you just let them be an artist and let them express themselves. And if you do that, you're just going to you will fly. And the entire band, Johnny, we've had, speaking of having each other's back on this tour, Johnny's son graduated. And so it was months and months ago before the tour was even booked, said he wanted that day off. Sean, the drummer from Breaking Benjamin, sat in a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
Played our whole set.
Guys. Yeah.
Played our whole set. And it's like, that's the kind of tour that's what makes this thing very special to me and her. We're like, to be around everybody that if anything happened, the show will go on because there's too many great musicians around to help you, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you know, how you would get the demos from Sean and like, they're very rough, but you can kind of tell that, you know, they're going to be a smash. The thing that I like about Seether is that there is a sound to the band, and the sound is, it's not that it's rough, but it's raw and very kind of organic in terms of being a rock band. You know, there's not a lot of bells and whistles like the song. It's, you know, it's the straight up rock and roll, like, you know, AC/DC instruments on stage, making it cut through. And that's what you guys have had for so long. And the fact that the hits keep coming, exactly, you would not want to change that formula because it works really well. Can you talk like a little bit about like how you guys approach the performance side of things, like to keep it in that sort of energy?
Well, like now that I'm in the band, like it's Sean, harmony wise, I always looked at Seether and I was like, man, there's so many cool harmonies, no one's really singing them. Mm-hmm. And so I started singing everything. I was like, I'm gonna sing all of this cool shit that no one's heard from the other guitar players, and he comes up with a super unique stuff. But the thing is, like, it's got to be something that it just feels like something that natural for me. You know what I mean? It's got to be something that's natural, and that's why I think the fit works. You know, his ability to be able to express himself and surround himself with guys that actually that gels with, right? There's certain people that, like, you know, that certain things don't work. Would Dimebag sound great in Seether? Probably not. You know what I mean? It's like would
I'd buy the record to hear
Brian
it though.
Scott sing faithfully well, you know?
Right, yeah.
Certain songs, certain people, certain things don't click. And I think we finally found it. I'm glad to be here in Seether. I'm humbled by the opportunity and like just to be able to be a part of something that it's how I want to end, you know, my career, I guess.
Can I ask you, while we're on that topic, how that happened? Can you share the story about how you got joined with Seether and how that transpired?
Yeah. I mean, I've known the guys for 15, 16 years now. So it's like, it wasn't like a get to know each other thing anymore. We were like best friends, you know, me and the whole band. Every time, and Sean would take me out in whatever band I was in. I never asked. He'd call me and say, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Are you touring? Or do you want to get, you know, let's go out?" And he had a bunk for me. I mean, it was like that. I had my Lowery bunk.
That's awesome.
In the bus the whole time. So there was a brotherhood there, and he never thought, I didn't know you play guitar. Why haven't you been in the band for 16 years now? You know, like, and it came where there was an opening, and at like I had two guitar, my brother Clint and Troy, Troy played with Seether for a while, but the fit was not there, and Seven Us had some downtime, so Clint filled in, and he had Seven Us stuff coming up, and I went out to help. I just came out to help. It wasn't even to join the band, and I love that it's organic like that. But when I was on stage and I'm playing, I don't know, man, and my heart was destroyed because I'm like, this feels like home, you know? Like, I feel like I'm at home, and I don't know how do I tell him, hey, man, can I have the guitar? You know, I don't.
Right.
I wanted it to be offered, you know, and it was. And he says, dude, this feels right. Do you want to be in a band? And at the time I was with Saint Asonia, and we weren't touring a lot, and it just felt more like home than there, you know? And I love the guys in Saint Asonia, but it was like, I got to go back to my roots of a kid and play guitar again. I was like, I don't even want to play bass anymore. So,
and get some number one hits.
Yeah. And Sean,
no big deal. Let's forget about the number one hits, because I mean, I'm sure that, I mean, if you're the 13-year-old kid that I think you might have been, kind of like.
And my family, my wife and daughter love the band too. You know, like it's like you have to be a fan of something, you know. Yeah, the songs have got to be there. You know, every band that you're with, you make sure the songs are there, you know. And Seether always had the songs for sure, you know. And it just felt good it felt like home. So that's, you know, I'm glad to be here. And it's been 5 years now, you know. But time will keep, you know, moving on, and we'll keep trying to, make everybody, keep doing what we're doing. I don't think we're, hey, we're going to use all these keyboards behind us like you got, like, out of nowhere,
You don't need to. And I'll tell you something about our band. So Lost Symphony. I bet you if I took my fiance, I bet you if I took my fiance downstairs and we played Lost Symphony and then we played Seether one song by one song and asked her which one she knew, she would know all of your songs before any of my songs. So it does. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. Maybe I just need to go back to AC/DC and put
we
my
picked a
schnutz
hard
on.
genre.
No. It's, here's what I do know as a producer. The average ear can only hear 3 things at the same time. And I've written about 10,000 songs with about 10 billion notes per song. So I know what those songs do, and it's fun. There's a genre for that. But I think a lot of things have happened during musical history of what pop's done, rap's done, country started it probably, of simplistic. There's a beauty in simplistic music. Is very, very hard to write a hit for. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy as if it was, everyone would just do it. It's hard to
because you have to differentiate yourself. If you're doing 3 chords, you alluded to it on the other episode. If you're doing 3 chords, there's got to be something about those 3 chords that specifically, because anyone can play 3 chords. Anyone can play 3 chords.
Yeah, but it's the melody. It's the whole. But
right.
Like I said, you're listening to the melody and lyrics, the beat, and these 3 chords. Those 3 things. But if I start adding 16 notes of all this
Yngwie Malmsteen
arpeggio behind it, or something that takes away from that vocal. Now that vocal's not going to be important, and so you got to pay attention. For me, it's like when I listen to songs, the vocals are number 1 for me all the time. Vocal is God in that world. The guitars are color. It's this beautiful color. The paint. How do you paint that picture for that? The beat is what's going to that pulse that everything's going to drive off of. But the guitars, you can write the coolest guitar riffs in the world as long as it does not mess with that vocal, and that's the hat trick.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's why we don't have any vocals at all. We have no vocals in our band.
We got rid of the vocals. Of everything.
And that's what makes it cool, right?
Yeah, it took all the pressure off.
But you're a melody writer also. You love melody. And let me ask you, which one's your favorite kind of melody? Like, is it keyboard or guitar?
Well, first off, my favorite musician, my biggest influence is Freddie Mercury. So, Queen, for me, is everything that you're saying, because they can play We Will Rock You, which is literally dun, dun, cha. You hear it at every, stadium in the world. But then they could play Bohemian Rhapsody, which is 6 minutes long, of this crazy, we could see through the tape from all the harmonies. But then they can go back to crazy little thing called Love. And my mom thought it was Elvis until I told her it was Queen. You know what I mean?
And you can solo up the vocal alone and have the same powerful feeling.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing that's the craziest thing about this is the crazy thing about Queen. So this is a fact, is that Another One Bites the Dust is actually their biggest song. And the story goes that John Deacon used to play it at soundcheck all the time, and he'd be like, let's write a song, and everyone's like, fuck that shit. And Michael Jackson came down one night, and he heard it. He goes, that would be a good song. You should do that song. And the reason the song went to number 1 is because everyone thought Freddie Mercury was black. That's true.
Where did you find that fact?
Michael Jackson helped break them to the R&B underground. Go watch anything about Queen. The fact is, because everyone would listen to him and they were all confused, who's this fucking dude singing on it? He's got so much of that vibe and that soul. They're all he can't be a honky. He's from Zanzibar, actually. He's not even from London. But that guy he confused the Michael Jackson crowd and all the people. And by the way, in 1981, that was a big crowd listening to Michael Jackson. So that's Freddie Mercury all day. So piano, usually, if I can't play it on piano, or if you can't strum it on an acoustic around a fire, it's probably not a song.
See, check this out. My daughter just learned her first song on pianos, Bohemian Rhapsody. That's the one she wants to pick.
Awesome.
Out of all the songs, not Chopsticks, Bohemian Rhapsody. So
ambitious.
6 2 days, learns it. 2 days.
Really?
I hate her guts. I'm like, well, she started out on drums, and like my daughter started out on drums. She learned the bass riff for Dangerous, like just picks it up and like, but I'm doing kind of what my dad did. I don't influence her. Like I'll show her anything she wants to learn. I will show her what, unlike my dad didn't show me. I will show her, but the whole push of, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that. If she chose to do that, like, you know, she's got my blessing. I'll help her along the way. But her first song ever that she wanted to sing was So Sick. And she's 6 years old, sitting on my lap. I'll play it for you. It's incredible. Just kills it. So I'm like, she didn't have front teeth, so her tongue's kind of falling through, but she's like, you know, it's I love Cory. I love harmony. I started like piano. I love piano because it was like you get all these notes and there could be these chords and figuring that stuff out it's still fun. Everyone's still you're still practicing. I'm still practicing. You never stop. I mean, even if you just play if you're playing if you built a career on simplistic, that doesn't mean you don't still want, if it's called upon you, you want to be able to show it. You know what I mean? But there's so many guitarists and pianos, I mean, that are so out of this world. To me, it's like, I practice more of what is going to, how can I express me? I'm not trying to express them. You know what I mean? Like I love, not unless I'm just so influenced, you know, like going back to like learning some Dio solos. I was like, I just like Dio, so I'm going to have to learn this damn thing. You know, Eddie Van Halen, you like it so much that you're going to try to learn it, you know, like, but as far as Becker, like I'm not going to, I love Flexible. When Steve Vai came out with Flexible, I remember going, this is incredible. How's he doing it? And I didn't have a whammy bar, so I just couldn't get through half of it. But classical also. How do you like, to me, the saddest song in the world is Moon Night Sonata. It just will always be the saddest thing on earth, and I still can't play it right. I play it and I hate it. You know what I mean? But like when I hear somebody that truly can actually play the sadness of that song, it's like it crushes me. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you actually brought out a really good point as far as the simplicity of it all, because like, look, man, you can have a gajillion layers, but like, even if you go back to like a band like Rush, they were just three guys. You know what I mean? Like, and one of the things that you
hearing it.
Yeah.
Brilliantly shredding, everyone shredding, and it just made so much musical sense. You know, it's
the only thing that didn't make sense to me, and still kind of doesn't, but I guess I get it, is like, but why didn't they get like another singer? It's kind of like Yes, I love Yes, but I can't get behind the vocals, but like they're so fucking good. You're like, all right, and then like you later on in life you realize like Geddy Lee's just superhuman because he's also playing keyboards with his fucking feet while the professor's playing drums. So you're like, he could sing however he fucking wants, just like Les Claypool. Who cares if he's talking about Tommy the Cat? Have you seen him play a Carl Thompson?
Right. I mean, he's incredible. I've seen him play. I mean, but you got
psychotic, dude,
like, you know, like Les Claypool came in like just like you had guys like Victor Wooten, Stanley Clarke, Jocko, guys like that, and Les, no one was there until Les just showed everybody and made it even rock. You know, like he made slapping cool. You know, like Flea did. Like he's just fucking incredible. What makes the Chili Peppers great? It's because Anthony Kiedis is just an amazing singer? No.
Well, we got to think about the drums in that band, too, because Joe Satriani stole them, and now he's playing with a little bit of Van Halen and Chickenfoot when he did that. So, I mean, you got to think they're the greatest rhythms. And I found out something about Chad Smith and Flea, that they don't even really talk to each other. So that makes total sense, is they have like a nice, healthy anger towards one another, and they just take it out on stage. And that explains the Chili Peppers having the greatest rhythm section in rock and roll, is that they don't want to be friends, they don't want to hang out, they've never even been to each other's houses.
Never.
That's what it said in the magazine. I don't know. TMZ could be lying to me, but I found that very interesting.
CNN, I don't know.
I don't remember which it was. Listen, but all I gotta tell you is that they don't really talk very much. But that explains it, because Chad Smith is one of the greatest drummers on the planet, and you have Flea, who's one of the greatest bass players. But they're like only in the room because Anthony Kiedis is like, I'm going to get these pandas to talk to each other. And
They've
look
been
at
together
that
for a long time, though. Like what's really going on there, no one will ever know except them.
But it's magic, because you want to know what? I heard their new record, and I'm not a huge Chili Peppers fan, but every time I hear them, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then you hear that, like, Stadium Arcadium, I want to say it came out in like 2001. And they'd already had Under the Bridge in 91. You're like, they're not getting bigger than this. And then they sell 16 million records in the SoundScan era, which is like literally like absolutely, if you sell 1 million records now, or even downloads, people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. But this was like 16 million actual units, because and it was a double record.
Do you think that people don't listen? Do you think more people listen to music now?
Less attention span.
I think more people listen to less amounts. Like
exactly,
it's shorter segments. Yep. It's like total ADD with like 15 seconds and then on to the next.
The way things are consumed is so different that the old business model just can't. There's no way that could ever happen again. Because
it's called the long tail. It's the actual name for it. So it's like back in the day, you had MTV. You had Rolling Stone, you had like live concerts, you had magazines, and then you had radio, terrestrial radio. And that was pretty much how you got Michael Jackson all the time. You had Michael Jackson Day on MTV, and he was ubiquitous. But now, because you have all these different channels, it's like taking acid, where you're like, do I talk to the door? Do I talk to that? Like, so much stuff. So now you have so much music and so many different ways of consuming it that people are just like, click, 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 click. So people don't know bands, they know songs.
But listen, I gotta say, it's been a sold out tour.
Well, they still exist, and COVID made them happy again to see you.
But I'm saying, like, they're still singing every single word. So I mean, they paid attention enough. I think it really still comes down song, man. The song's king.
Absolutely.
No download or albums. The album sales and downloads are one thing, but like song. If your song really, if you throw that song up like a flag, and you got to see who's going to salute. If they asses in seats matter and always will, because that's the true fan. You can't download that. And that.
My fiance sang your songs. I was annoyed at her. I was like, I took you to Billy Joel. You didn't know any of this shit. You're singing Seether. I took you to Billy Joel. Every song is Billy Joel. She knew all your songs.
Yeah,
every one of them.
Good. I like
there's no doubt that and there's no substitute for core fans, like legit fans of bands, and they still exist and they always will. I feel like there's more free agent listeners now, in terms of like it's probably harder to grab those fans and make them listen to an entire catalog. But when you do, they put that effort in, and you do get something special like that.
Well, that's you. To me, I like taking new bands out. The bands that need to be heard. Like a new music that needs to be heard out. Like Breaking Benjamin and Seether, we've been around for a long time. You know what I mean? And we watched the heyday and all that stuff, and have been through all this stuff. But it's a lot of the new bands. Yeah, you're right. The attention span's like a goldfish, right? It's very short.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, we can't lose that thing that really bonds us, the community of this music and that's the live show. That's the community. They go there, they're talking. I mean, every time you go to a concert, you go there with just your girlfriend or whatever, but you say hey to 50 people you've never met in your life, and you have that same thing in common. Or you look over and that person's singing it like you're singing it. Like there's that bond. There's a community there, and I think bands have got to keep building the community. Because if we lose
it's
the
called
community,
pennies in the jar, man. It's like every single fan that you get, like the guy who watched Starset that was like, oh, I just internalized that these guys are awesome. I'm going to go look them up. And it's like you keep doing that for years, because I'm going to tell you a true story. In 2001, there's a band named Breaking Benjamin that opened for my band Carve in Lowell, Massachusetts. And I remember specifically saying, who are these fucking dudes trying to break me on stage? And it's depressing because I'm still playing the same shitty place in Lowell, Massachusetts, if they'll have me on Thursday nights. And you guys are playing like 6,000 seaters and shit. So it's just kind of crazy to see it all come around, because I watch those dudes like literally get the same drink tickets opening for my shitty band. So to know that you guys are doing this, it's amazing to have watched. I mean, I saw Stuck Mojo and I saw Stereomud. So it's one of those things where it's like, and then just so you know, I put them all together today because Cory and I had a conversation about it where we're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, and it's so amazing to think that you were a part of all those bands. Like, my big question here is,
I've been super lucky, to be with so many cool bands and so many, and the thing is, I just don't quit, man. Like, I don't give up. I don't give a shit. I seriously don't. If a band breaks up, then I would move on. My thing was, I can write. I'll write my way out of this fucking problem that I'm in. If it feels like a problem, I'm just gonna. Now I'm hyper depressed. I'm pissed off. There's never gonna be better music popping out now, because
it's like the Chad Smith Flea thing. They're a little bit angry. They don't want to talk. They make the greatest Red Hot Chili Peppers record, and they're the best rhythm section. Case in point.
No, but that's a really important thing to say, though, is that, you got to keep going. I mean, it's like, I feel like every time I get to the next thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to step it up and just keep working and working, you always have to be continuing to develop your craft and expanding your horizons and absorbing all the stuff that's around you. And it's like, there's never a good time to settle in any way.
It's just a journey. You can't, if you want to stop, you say, oh, there's another, here's a mountain that I got to climb, and just say, I'm not going to climb it. I mean, that's when something falls apart. I broke my heart with Stereomud, without, it really hurt. But then it was like, wait a minute, it's going to be okay. And that's when I put Dark New Day together. It's like, and more, what do I get out of it? I just get more cool music, and I get to be part of that whole thing. But if I sat on my couch depressed and said, fuck it, I'm out of here, I wouldn't have got to experience this. It wouldn't have gotten me to Seether today. Everything to me has got me where I'm at right now. And that's all it wasn't the easiest path, trust me, you know what I mean? Some nights I'm like, oh, and the depression, all those things, just like you have to take it for what it is and say, I'm going to make something happen, period. And I'm going to throw myself out there. I'm going to throw my name out there. However, and dude, if you do it, and you've been cool, you haven't been a shit talker, and because this is a small little industry. It's a super small industry, really. And usually you'll find another path. You'll find another path of killer people, and it'll be even better than it was before.
Well, it's important you keep saying something, because okay, so I think there's a huge break between what people think and the way people actually live as rock stars. Because there's a band, you got 3 number 1 hits just on this freaking record. Like, you're rock stars, but you're talking about depression. And, we talk about this in the music industry a lot. Like, you have all these amazing musicians, and it's like, Brad Delp, one of my favorite bands, Boston, took his own life, depression. What do you think now, people who aren't in the music industry, what are they not seeing that causes this depression? And what do you, as somebody that's on the road, understand, when you see other people that are going through that depression, how to help them out of it?
We do a Rise Above Fest, and it's about suicide awareness. Maybe put that in the description. Maybe.
Yeah, we've played that too. It's awesome.
And Sean lost his brother to suicide, and it's very close. And we've had family members to friends, and we all deal with that thing of hopelessness and stuff like that. And everyone does. I think that you got to know that there's some support out there. And it's okay to fall, because you're going to have some people catch you, and to really submit and say, damn, fuck it, I need help. And usually a lot of these cases are, brief, like a minute of just tragedy, thinking of it's all hopeless, I want out of here. And that's not the case. Just breathe, stop, slow it down, and talk to somebody. Just reach out, because it's someone loves you out there. You're going to affect, you're bigger than you know you are. You are going to affect so many people in not a good way if you're not here. If you're here, everything can be worked out. Everything. You can move forward. Everything can be worked out. Anything can be forgiven. None of that shit matters at the end of the day when it comes to your life. And so we get behind it as hard as we can. And because we deal with those things individually, I mean, as band, as, coming home, we all went into a lot of that during the COVID thing. Cause you're like, the one thing I know how to do good, you're saying is fucking worthless. So what am I now? I had to remember I'm a father, I'm a husband. I have a family, and I got to stay strong. I had to do that. But at night, every night I would go downstairs in my basement and just be like, oh man, I can't move forward. What the fuck is going on? So I had to I did all kinds I got into jujitsu, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you were talking about that the other day. That's awesome.
I was like, I'm going to physically break myself. And I ended up getting my blue belt, and I still now have a new passion for that. It's like, find something that keeps you moving forward. Even when the God-gift thing that you have is taken away, find something else that you don't like and do it until you do like it. Put yourself, nothing's comfortable. Do it. Even us as musicians. If you don't rehearse and you go out, you feel like shit. You're like, oh God. But we uncomfortably rehearse over and over until, damn, I'm comfortable again. Yeah, let's tour. And it makes it all good. But we gotta, I don't think we'll ever be living comfortable. I don't want to be in a comfortable world, to tell you the truth. I like being uncomfortable and sorting through it and navigating. And the depression part is it's part of who I guess a lot of musicians are. And it's like, why are you depressed? You're a musician. You get all this love, but the fucking love's up here, and then you go home, there's the fucking nothing.
But hold on, maybe do you feel like that the depression or like the hopelessness is because like every time I meet a super awesome musician of almost any kind, I'm like, there's something wrong with them. Because almost every awesome player I've met, like, oh, it's like, oh, you have a debilitating mental disorder, or like you have PTSD, or like you have a serious drinking. Like, he's the greatest guitarist ever. He's constantly drunk and has cirrhosis. Like, and I feel like that's part of being a musician. Is a lot of the greatest musicians that I've met or that have ever lived they have some kind of staggering self-doubt, or they're depressed, or there's something like, as Siobhán was saying, to be the greatest violinist, you have to have mental disorders.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's crazy.
It was a little more poetic than that, but yeah.
Well, you've seen
Heifetz did.
You've seen things, whether you've been molested, you've watched people get killed in front of you, family shit, like a lot of shit happens in your life, and then you're expected to be that person on stage, and the stage for some reason is the only place you do feel at home at some point. And then you get off of it. And now you're that guy that got molested and fucking watched a bunch of shit happen. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just that guy. And then you get the up of people clapping and, so that ride is weird. And yeah, the music, it helps. It helps more than, it helps to write, it helps to play, it helps to listen, it helps a lot. And, fans, we hear their stories, and, we relate to each other through a lot of the lyrical content. And, I can look at some people and go, yep, I need to give that person a hug, like they're fucked up like me. I like it, so you bond, and, and you're not, I don't feel insecure around them. You know what I mean? And that's another cool part of the fans sometimes. It's just like, especially the fans that need us like that. You know, I feel, come here, you know, we're going to be good. This sucks, but we're going to be fine. I promise. And they promised me it's going to be fine. And I believe them. So.
Yeah, no, I'll second that.
Amazing.
We experience a lot of that too with on the Starset side. So many fans that will relate and tell us stories of, you know, they were suicidal or they lost somebody or something that was like really, really upsetting in life. And they really need that music, you know? So even for us, times where I feel insecure or self-doubt, it's like I have to go on stage and like channel that strength, because you never know who is that person that's out there that's really holding on to you for like some sense of security or some stability, or that's that song that they want to hear that really like brought them through something over and over and over again, you know? So that really does give you that energy, I think, of like, all right, I can do this.
I'm going to bring it back to this, Cory. Do you ever feel like it's like Star Wars, where you see like what Anakin, young Anakin, he's like a ghost, right? But it's Dimebag on the side of the stage watching you like you're in Stuck Mojo. And you start playing again, knowing that Dime's about to pour you a 7, 7, and 7, or a Blacktooth Grin.
Blacktooth Grin, yeah.
Does it ever go through your head like, maybe I just need to push this one louder for that dude?
Well, like,
or someone like him, your dad,
like,
or your dad watching you.
Ask her, like last night we played, and there's this moon, and we're outside.
Yes.
This moon is like fucking beautiful, right? And I you know, you're playing some of the songs, and within some of our set, just some, especially the jam sessions, I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking about all the things like that, you know, Dimebag, you know, my dad, like just family, and, you know, because we have this, and I'm not even, it's playing itself. I don't know what we're doing. I'm just looking, and this vibe's happening, and you're just thinking about stuff like that. And then the song, you know, slowly starts to kick in, and then you're back out and you're doing your thing. But like, yeah, that stuff all the time, man, all the time. You get lost within it, and that's the coolest part about being on stage sometimes, or even watching. You can watch bands do it, you know, like that, when they get lost, and you're just like, this thing's happening now. It's not. There's nobody's playing music anymore. There's just things happening. So it's very cool.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's amazing.
You know, you're a producer, you're a songwriter, you're obviously on tour currently with Seether. Do you do any writing like for yourself, especially like recently over like throughout the COVID lockdown stuff? Like, is there a solo project coming out at any point that anyone could expect?
You know, I get asked that a lot. I don't, you know, I write, will always write. I have a ton of stuff. I don't know. Like, you know, it probably.
You need keyboards?
I got some keyboards.
No, I'm saying, like, if you want keyboards, I'll totally work for like.
He's got like 15 of them right there.
I'll make them sound good.
I can tell you can get these things going. I can just tell about you, you know? No.
I like to push buttons, man.
But, you know, like that there again, like right now we're in Seether and we're in that world, and, you know, like, but I have to continue writing, because that's, you know, and a lot of times I'll write stuff in other bands, you know, this song would sound cool with this band, or, you know, it's just like, man, it would fit. I try to help let all that stuff happen naturally, and where does this song feel like it should go, you know, like. And I'll throw it out sometimes to bands, or a band out of the clear blue will say, hey man, do you have anything in it? And I'm like, I know the song. I already hear it. I'm like, I hear them singing it. I got to see it all in my head for some reason. Like, like
that makes total sense.
Yeah. Cause rather than putting it somewhere, I don't want to put it. I want it to put itself.
But don't you think that being a producer is like being a kind of a visionary, even if it's being like delusional in the sense that you're like, I know that this song is supposed to be the one, you know, and knowing that like this is right for this band and this is right for this drummer, and it's just like, you know, a casting person knowing like, oh, Al Pacino should have been in The Godfather. It's like, that's what you do as a producer. Is like you just kind of let it happen that way.
Yeah, I think you have to have a sense of, and you have to have the ability just to let that happen. I think a lot of times in writing songs, you can get have you ever gotten in your way of a song?
Oh,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? You started writing and you're like, oh, and it's you, your ego or whatever's telling you, do this. And if I do that, everything sounds like shit to me. Like, but the second I let go,
I watch Jason Becker and I go, I suck, and I have to go back and practice
Becker's
more.
But he's seeing it all. You know what I mean? He's literally seeing it now.
Well, here's the thing that you've done.
Happen.
But this is the difference, is that Jason Becker is a higher pay grade than most people are even able to comprehend. So it's like one of those things where, like, yeah, he's great, but like a niche of people who can even understand, like, that his fingers aren't fake. I don't want to say can appreciate it, but can understand and feel it the way that we do. Whereas, again, you guys write songs. There's a difference between that and the transcendence of a song to have a number one hit where everybody in any country can sing it back to you. That's a different thing. And I feel like that's something that, like, with your band,
it's a total different thing. But at the same time, he still inspires me. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. I think, I don't want to put either one down in any form.
Well, there's an XY axis. This is how I look at it. There's Prince in the middle. He's Eddie Van Halen, and he's the greatest songwriter. So there's Prince. And then there's, like, technicians like your Michelangelo Badios, who's never written a song that you can even remember, but he's the greatest player in the history. And then you have guys like, your Kurt Cobain, for example, who's a great guitarist, but, like, not a technician in the slightest, but wrote songs that are so transcendent. But then you have Prince in the middle. What do you think? Do you put more emphasis on, let's say, technique, or do you put more emphasis on just the fact that it's just writing, or do you want to just be Prince all the time? Because I want to be Prince all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying not to think about it.
It's a weird XY axis. I know.
I'm trying not. But I'm not. I try not to even go there. Because they are already them, and I'm not trying to be that.
You can't be that. That's the sad part.
I appreciate what they do. Like Kurt Cobain, the rawness of him, the technician of Prince. I get all that, but, like, there's a reason Kurt lived the way he did and was able to write how he wrote. Total same thing with Prince. There's a way that Prince lived in his life, just as a person, that allowed him to write like that. I'm just trying to live my life and write like I write.
Right. And as you said, I think in the last part, you need to aspire to be the best version of you in the situation you're in, because that's your lane and that's your life, and that's something that I totally relate to as well.
Like, for instance, We Are the World. Like, if you look back, do this for me. Go back and look at We Are the World, the original, right? How many individuals were really unique, and then you listen to the new version and everyone sounds the same. Everybody. It's watch it, and it's like, it's kind of sad. I'm like, every now and then you'll see that one person stand out a little bit, but we're talking about with the original, Cyndi Lauper doesn't sound like Tina Turner, Michael Jackson doesn't sound like Kenny Rogers, you know what I mean? But it was so much different going on and unique. And I hope that people are more themselves and not, and labels are telling us, labels will tell you, this is what a hit sounds like. Other producers will tell you, this is what we need to do. This is the format. This is the arrangement. You got to ignore all that shit and just do what's natural for you.
I need you to demystify something for me, because you said you wanted to be the greatest guitarist in Seether, but then I watched, like, all this Beatles stuff, and they say that Ringo's not even the greatest drummer in the Beatles. Would you be insulted if you were Ringo Starr?
No, because I'm playing a show tomorrow night. It's gonna be awesome, or next time.
But he's not even the greatest. But he's not even the greatest drummer in his band. But that's honestly the greatest mic drop answer. You're like, I'm playing a sold out show.
Yeah.
So have fun with your podcast, dude.
Here's the deal. I give credit where credit's due, and Seether to me is something that Sean built a long time ago, before I was here, and with his writing and stuff like that, you have to give credit where it's due. I don't think he gets credit enough that he should. And that's just the truth. A lot of people, like you were saying, you didn't realize this song was from him. This song he wrote. This song he wrote, and that's not that bothers me. You know what I mean? So when we do these things, I always try to let the world
know.
No,
but it shouldn't, because I'm going to tell you why. Because when Dimebag Darrell died, so did music for me. I didn't care. I haven't internalized a song, other than the fact that, ironically, I was a DJ until COVID happened, so I had to learn new songs, and I'm like, oh shit, and it made me really depressed. But like, the fact is like, there are so many. I talked to Shannon Larkin again from Godsmack, and I literally couldn't tell you any of the songs. Like, I went back and listened to everything, and he's like, we had 4 #1 hits. I'm like, ever? He's like, no, just on this record. And I'm like, oh, really? That's how disillusioned I am. I look him like right in the face, and I'm like, I have no idea.
And now that we're repeating stories from earlier in the episode, we can wrap things up here. Cory, seriously, thank you for hanging with us. Like, this has been an absolute blast.
Hey guys, it's been fun. I knew it would be fun, and thank y'all for inviting me. And
hold on, did you see the Dio "We Are the World"? Because I need to know this, because you said you learned the Vivian Campbell solo.
That's awesome.
I want to.
That's a whole different thing. That's badass.
Because everyone's different in that too, and I'm just curious your opinion before. That's a personal question.
When's the new one coming out?
Well, Dio's dead, but Dio did one.
Bravo.
Did you saw that, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding me?
That's like
There's
the greatest
solos in it. Of course, I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, all right, cool. As long as I know
All right,
that.
Ben.
We are stars. Yeah, all that. We are stars. Yeah, of course.
Cory, you're the best. Thank you so much for doing
We
this.
love you, dude.
It means so much to me that you did this, and I'm so glad to have a new friend, and it's been great touring with you, and I love that you shared your stories with us and my friends here. So,
where can people keep up with what you have going on?
Seether.com, and follow us on tour and stuff like that. Bands that want to work with me, like, I'm pretty easy to find. I don't even promote it too much anymore. I just, if it's just bring the best and that you got, and if I can help in any capacity, I try to help. So,
do you want to share your social media or tell people where they can follow you to keep up with you personally?
Yeah. What am I? You know that probably more than I do.
I think it's just your name on Instagram, but I will
What's your
look
social
right
security number?
Cory Lowery. Hold on, I'm looking at it, trying to find it. Yeah,
Cory Lowery official.
Official.
Very important.
Yeah, and
Official with
I
the blue
never asked you
check
for
mark.
money, so all that.
I'm gonna go
shit,
follow
I had
him
that.
right now.
It's Cory with an E.
Yes.
Yes. Buy that extra vial.
Right.
Wait, how many pictures do I have to like for you to follow me back?
All right.
Maybe 5. Like, I don't know.
That's the price of admission.
that was a Ben question.
All right.
I'm gonna follow you guys right now. I'm looking at your. Look at this.
Oh, look
Oh,
at that.
wow. Look at
That's-
you there.
Wow, I should probably update my
Wow.
website if you're looking at
I was like, look at the face of this. Like,
Oh yeah. Rocking the fuck out. That was playing with Ben like 10 years ago. No, seriously, man, it's been a pleasure, and I hope we all keep in touch, and I hope the rest of your tour goes amazing, and I hope we get to catch you again really, really soon.
For
If
sure,
you come
man.
to Boston, I'm 1,000,000% serious when I tell you that I would love to put one of these Jason Becker guitars in your hand, and we can totally
That'd be amazing,
have our
dude.
little fun, like whatever we can do for Jason. We can make something funny, Spinal Tap, whatever, because he just thinks he's got a great sense of humor, so it'll be
My
awesome.
wife's family was from Boston, man. Red Auerbach show was her uncle.
There you go,
Wow.
dude.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
and she was mad at him because he wouldn't allow cheerleaders. And when she was a little girl, she was like, "I want to be a cheerleader." He said, "No." He was a mean dude. Mean dude. Tell a little girl no. What the hell's wrong with that man?
How dare you?
Anyway,
Well,
thank you for that, dude. Dude, just bring that thing and let me look at it. That would be an honor just to even look at that guitar. So
It's my absolute pleasure, and honestly, thank you so much. And when you come to town, like, we'd love, Cory and I will totally come out and check it out. And
yeah, let's
obviously,
hang, man.
let's
Let's
do it.
hang.
if you're with Siobhán, we'll see you as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, if not, I'll come with you guys. I'll
She'll
totally.
grace us with her presence.
Oh, well, she's the real rock. Well, when she's not too busy like playing Ultra in front of like 80,000 people with Kygo, someone who's actually like, I mean, I know we have #1 hits over here, but like Kygo, I mean, obviously every girl who's like 17 knows Kygo,
Hey,
right?
listen,
Siobhán?
I'm just now learning the bow, bro. Just give me a second.
Just give them a second.
Well, we're gonna need you to get you on the next Lost Symphony song once you master that. So we'll be in touch for that. But
yeah.
guys, check out 2020-d.com.
Seether, Stereomud, Stuck
Yes.
Mojo.
All that good
He's
stuff.
an awesome producer.
Check it out, subscribe, and we will see you next week.
And we're sitting there backstage, and we're just talking to some people, and all of a sudden here comes Prince walking right towards us, and like I still didn't know he wrote the fucking song, and what the fuck is Prince doing here? And he comes, and me and Rick are just jaws dropped, and he looked down at us and just gave us a nod. So that was my closest touch to greatness. And then we lied and told all our friends we jammed with him backstage. We were jamming with man, it was rad. Just kidding. But, yeah, he smelled really good.
Interesting.
Smelled great. Like whatever bespoke cologne he had on was just awesome. Just smelled so good.
He was enchanting.
Yeah, he walked by, and as the jaws are dropped, we took it in. I can still smell it to this day. It was epic.